find things in the process to enjoy, the more you're keeping those stress chemicals down and your prefrontal cortex online, which means you'll be more efficient, you'll be quicker, you'll be more effective. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Live Support with Odille for changing negative implicit childhood memories using the Remmert method. We've created this forum for those who've watched our YouTube channel or read our book and need personal help using the techniques to get changes, but aren't in a position to do one-to-one sessions at the moment. So if you're new to the Remmert method, do check the description of this post. And if you'd like to submit a question or you'd like me to work with you on this platform, check the link in the description of this video for details on that as well. So the first question I have for today is from Calypso. So Calypso asks, lately, I've been struggling with anxiety about the future, mostly preoccupied with the potential outcomes. The advancements in AI technology have also led me to catastrophize its impacts, particularly in terms of job replacements. How can I cope with these thoughts? So well done, Calypso, for reaching out for help with this. And first of all, it's important to recognize that the anxiety you're feeling is created by stress chemicals like adrenaline and cortisol, which are the same chemicals that are produced when we are in physical danger. So that's why it feels so intense and so real. Not because there is a real danger, but just because those feelings are created by the same chemicals that would be produced if you were faced with a bear. So the thing about AI and other technological advancements is that with each new advancement, things shift. But that doesn't mean that there are no opportunities. So when the car was invented, there will have been people whose living relied on horses or carts or carriages who were worried that they would be out of job. But of course, as the car became more popular, it opened up different opportunities. And the same with electricity, computers, phones, and the internet. The first step is recognizing that what's actually happening, even though it feels really real, it's literally just chemicals. So just like when you watch a scary movie, the fear feels really real, even though you're not in real danger. Even though it's just a movie, your brain and body react as if your life is in danger. And this is the same. So you feel the feelings of fear that are coming from the brain automatically producing those chemicals, and then your conscious mind looks for reasons for this feeling. The effects of those stress chemicals are creating those feelings in your body. Your brain is going, AI and all of the things that it means, there won't be any jobs. And so it's coming up with reasons, but it's not that those reasons are a real threat. It's just because of those chemicals creating that state of emergency in your brain and body. So the first step is recognizing that. The second step is doing whatever it takes in the first instance to bring down that level of stress chemicals by changing your focus and doing things that feel good in the moment. Now, it's important to realize that you won't feel like doing that. So because your brain's going to be wanting to fixate on the negative, because it's like trying to take your focus off the wild animal that's threatening to attack you and put your focus on the pretty flowers. But the difference here is that although the unconscious part of your brain thinks there's a bear that's threatening to attack you, you know consciously that there is no bear. There is no bear. And there's no immediate physical danger. So reassure yourself and change your focus anyway, even though you don't feel like it. So here are some ideas for doing that, for changing your focus to bring down the level of stress chemicals. Listen to music you love. Again, even though you don't feel like it, put the music on anyway and listen to it. Watch funny YouTube videos. Do some physical exercise, even if it's just walking around the block listening to an uplifting audiobook or podcast. Physical exercise is very effective for changing your chemical state. Spend some time in nature or with animals. Spend some time with a loved one who makes you laugh. Do an activity you love. And you can also use 2-minute brain chemistry exercise. I'll put a link to that in the description of this video. Remember, you won't feel like doing any of these things, and your brain will resist because it thinks that you have to focus on the negative thoughts to physically survive. But you know consciously that that's not the case. So keep reminding yourself it's It's like watching a scary movie. It feels real, but it's not. And then the third step is for once you've already brought down that level of stress chemicals and are feeling less triggered. So that's when you can do some detective work to find out which childhood memories are creating the state and then change them. So pause this recording now to do whatever it takes to bring down those stress chemicals in your system. And then when you're feeling better, come back to this video and move on to step 3. Welcome back. And step 3 is start by answering yourself. What's the worst thing about this situation or the future that I'm worried about? And then ask yourself how that feels. And then, of course, where in your childhood did you feel that same feeling? Remember, it may be a different topic. So it probably won't have anything to do with jobs or AI. It'll be a different topic, the same feeling. And then, of course, change those childhood memories to the opposite, positive and empowering. And I'll put a link to the step-by-step video for changing memories in the description of this video for those who are new. And then establish those new memories by repetition with feeling. Another little tip is that whenever you start to find yourself feeling that anxiety or you find your mind wandering to the worst case scenarios and the things you're worried about, see that as the child in you who's frightened. So the fear you're feeling is coming from the child in you, and answer that child the way you would if you had a real child with you. So reassure her. So if there was a real child with you and they were frightened of the dark, for example, you wouldn't join in with them and go, I know it's terrible. The dark is so scary. There could be monsters. You would reassure the child and go, it's okay, sweetie. I know the dark seems scary, but there's nothing dangerous there. You're going to be okay. Look, let's play a game. You would reassure them and try and make them feel better. So do that for yourself as well. So I hope this helps, and let me know if you need more suggestions or you need clarification on anything. All right. And so next on the list for today is Swasti, who is in the room. Hello, Swasti.
Hi.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Okay, so I had my last theory exam yesterday. And
Okay.
it was better than the first because the second is supposed to be a little easier. But I feel like I went through a crisis after, because I was because the mistakes I was telling you about in the first paper, and I was like, wow, I really can't get things without struggle, huh? Yeah, everything in my life, it's a big statement, but everything always works out in the end. But it always has the struggle element, such a struggle. Because I will get results in 2 weeks and I don't know if I have to do the resit paper. I literally can't predict it because I don't know what it will be like. Yeah, which is a scenario I'm not looking forward to, but I know that again, it will be fine. It will be 3 weeks of work and then the rest will be summer, so it will be fine. But I'm just, I just got frustrated at why things can't come easily to me like they are to everyone else. Because some people finished the first paper, got the result, passed the entire year, and they were done. But I was still slogging through. But I know that ultimately I'll be okay. But I was still slogging through.
Very good. All right. So well done for being here and reaching out for help with this. And I know that feeling so well, that feeling of everything has to be a struggle. It all turns out in the end, but you have to go through the struggle first. So that was a program of mine as well. And of course, so there's a pattern there, a generational pattern. You'll have noticed probably that your parents and your grandparents had the same problem, right? They all had to struggle. Like your parents ended up in England and, they're okay, but there was a lot of struggle towards that. Yeah. So there's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of we've got to suffer and all of that.
Yeah.
So of course you as a child learned that that's the way to survive. And if things come too easily, what's wrong with that?
No, I was thinking now I have nothing to do apart from pack my stuff to leave to go home. But I'm still feeling what I was feeling pre-exam time. And I was like, wow, it's really inside me. It's literally got nothing to do with the outside. Yeah. So it's just the stress and continuous time. I've been unable trying to relax, but I know that comes from whatever's going on.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And so, of course, there's a couple of things here. Once, when your system has been full of stress chemicals, it takes a while for a start for that shift to, for your system to settle down. It doesn't take as long as we might think. However, what's happening is we're re-triggering that state as we think about what happened or we think about what the consequences could be in the future. Right. So what do you find works best for for you to enjoy or feel calm? Is there any music you enjoy? Are there any activities or videos, reading?
Yeah, I was trying to figure this out. So I feel that when I'm with people, I'm very in the zone and I'm very relaxed. But when I'm with myself, I'm just full of my own stuff in my head and what needs to be done and by when.
Okay. And so are there any activities that can be done alone that you actually like, that are relaxing?
Yeah, like watching something. Like if I really involve myself in it, like again, it takes focus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And that is not necessarily cast in stone, that it always has to take focus. That just depends on your current state and where you're putting your brain and your mind in the moment and what you're used to. So let's look at the worst case scenario so we can address that. What's the biggest fear right now?
Honestly, doing the resit paper in like 5 weeks. Again, it's not even bad. That's not the worst thing. Worst thing would be if they failed me now, like you have to resit the year. They gave me 3 chances.
Very good. Let's say worst case scenario happens and you do fail completely. Then what will you do?
I will just be able to resit the year. That's not my worst case scenario. My worst case scenario is doing the resit paper.
Doing the reset paper.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you have to do the reset paper. Will that be like? What's so bad about that?
It's because when I find out I have 3 weeks to prepare to do it, I've kept those free just in case for my own peace of mind. It's just like, it's going to be a lot to do in 3 weeks.
Okay, and is that because you've done no work at all until then?
No.
Right. So what makes it a lot of work in 3 weeks?
Because I have to cover like what I covered in 3 months in 3 weeks. Because I have to refresh it again.
Right. So you'd have to refresh it, but it won't take as long as it did the first time, presumably. Right? There'll be gaps that you'll need to fill in, right? So those won't take as long. And of course, remind yourself that the calmer you are and the more you're able to enjoy the process, find things in the process to enjoy, the more you're keeping those stress chemicals down and your prefrontal cortex online, which means you'll be more efficient, you'll be quicker, you'll be more effective. So keep reminding yourself of that, because that can reassure you it's okay. It doesn't need to be a struggle. It'll only be a struggle if I'm struggling with it, if I'm engaging with that. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay. And so this, in the beginning, it takes constant reminding yourself, because it's automatic to be frightened. Because that's what you've always, that's what your brain and body are used to. So it takes that correction. So it's like if you've been parting your hair in a particular part all your life, and then you start trying to brush it the other way, of course, it won't for a while, right? It takes time, it takes repetition. Now let's look at the idea that you have to struggle. So at the moment, like you say, you've got nothing else to do except pack, right, to go away. And what are you looking forward to most?
It is another story on its own. Because this relationship I was talking about, like this is like the last week of it. So it's like, it's all happening at the same time. But this is where I'm trying to like focus on in the moment so I can enjoy it while it lasts, kind of thing. Because I would enjoy these 2 weeks before I get my results. So irrespective of what happens, I've enjoyed my summer. Yeah.
Good. All right. And so you're packing and you're going, when are you going home?
A week and a bit.
Actually. Okay, so you're going to enjoy this week and a bit and the relationship. And then when you go home, what are you looking forward to when you get home?
It's like no obligations.
Yeah, nice. So that'll be lovely, right? So one of the things you need to do is keep choosing your focus. So when you find yourself thinking about the exam, oh, I hope I won't have to reset that, answer it. Don't run with the dog when it goes to chase a rabbit. Bring the dog to heel, right? So every time your mind wanders to the fear of the, whether you'll have to reset the exam or not, that's the dog starting to chase a rabbit. And as soon as you notice it, the earlier you notice it and correct it and bring that dog to heel, the easier it's going to be, rather than it's already started running. Then it drags you with it. Yeah. Right. And that's effectively what's happening. So as your mind starts to think about what if I have to reset the exam and what that's going to feel like, and the stress of those 3 years, or I've got to fit everything into 3 weeks, that's the dog starting to run with the rabbit and it's dragging you with it. Right. And the longer you allow that, the more difficult it is to then correct it, because you've got all those stress chemicals in your system already. Does that make sense? Yes. And that dog could be quite strong. So those stress chemicals can feel really real. That's when you've got to override that and take control and go, I know it feels bad. I know it feels dramatic, but it's not. And answer it. Okay. All right. Yes. Okay. So that's that. So now let's look at your childhood. Do you still have any old memories, any negative memories of your parents struggling, or you having to struggle as a child? Or negative memories of not struggling. So the consequences of not working hard, not struggling.
So when I was in like India living with my grandma, I'd always watch her like overwork herself. And it was just like house chores. It was like something was on the floor and it had to be swept up right away kind of thing. And then I came here and I was just like, oh, my grandma always did it, you know. But then I had to do everything here. And then my parents were just the whole, just not what I expected. But I don't remember struggling as such. My dad's like I've said, like paper rejections a lot of the time. So he uses work as a coping mechanism to escape. So it became a coping mechanism over the years. It wasn't before, now it is. But then you'd watch him work 18 hours a day and then still get rejected on his papers. And it's like, what is the point of life at this point? You know, like what are you trying to do?
Okay. And so as you think of your new childhood, is there any of that stuff still in your childhood?
The grandma bit stuff, the dad thing I changed.
You changed. Good. Okay, so let's look at your grandma. So I want you to go to one of those memories that represent all of them of your grandmother working hard, struggling with the chores of the house. Got that? Very good. And can you see the expression on her face?
Yeah, it was just irritation.
Irritation. Very good. Good job, sweetie. Okay, and now I want you to imagine that Mary Poppins turns up. Okay, and Mary Poppins says, oh, yeah, no, you don't have to do that, all of that. We've got magic. So she teaches your grandmother to do the magic, to do the chores by magic. As that starts to happen, what's the expression on your grandmother's face?
No, she needs to fix it.
That's what I thought. So I was just checking for that resistance right there. All right, very good. What happens if so let's take Mary Poppins out of it now. And what happens if your grandmother doesn't do what she's doing? So there's something on the floor, she doesn't pick it up. What's the problem with that? What's the consequences?
It was very much like a reputation thing, like our house. And I feel like this is part of something that I fully haven't looked at. So it was reputation about our house had a reputation. So it had to be kept clean, like whoever came in, we had to treat them nicely no matter how we were feeling. Like it was always them over your own family members. And then it was the same with looks, like you had to look good when you went outside, like you had to keep your weight under control and all of that. You had to eat healthy. It was like a weird like diet for no reason.
Okay, yes, so there's a lot of stuff there. And what would happen if, let's say, you didn't do those things, so you didn't maintain that reputation? What's the consequence of that?
It was like people would talk behind your back, like in the village, but then you'd be aware, so it wasn't really talking behind. It was just like the gossip would go round.
Yeah, very good. So the gossip would go round, and then what? What's the consequence of that?
Eventually, some old person would come to your house and say it to your face, and then my grandma would be offended.
Okay. And so let's say the old person comes to your house and says it to your face. What's wrong with that?
I think our family would just be distressed for like days about it.
Okay. Now, what if
this person said this? Yeah.
Right. What if we went back in time, we changed it so that the old person comes to the house and says it to, and your grandmother laughs and goes, never mind, don't worry about it. Or she says, oh, thanks so much for letting us know. What would that be like?
Yeah, that would be peaceful, like more relaxing.
Right. Because there's no real danger in it, right? Nobody's getting fired. Nobody's getting hurt. It's just somebody's opinion. And it doesn't actually do anything physical to you or to your grandmother. So it's just a perception and it's just conditioning. Let's put that stepping stone in there. So your grandmother decides she's taking a day off. She's not doing any housework at all, and she's enjoying whatever she likes to do, some sort of activity or whatever or just resting. So things around the house don't get done. There's something on the floor. She doesn't pick it up. And then people in the village start talking. Imagine you as a child and your grandmother walking past some people, and you can hear them talking about your house. And I want you to imagine your grandmother just laughing and going, it doesn't matter. What's it going to do? Kill us? Can you imagine that?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Good job,
That's
sweetheart.
nice.
How does that feel?
Yeah, it's more power for us over them.
That's it. Exactly. So I want you to play that until it feels established. And then the next piece will be, now you're in your home with your grandmother and whoever else is there, and an old person comes to your house and they tell you to your face, they tell you and your grandmother to your face, whatever they're going to tell you. And the same thing, your grandmother, either she just laughs it off, she takes it as a joke, or she thanks them for letting her know. And how would that feel?
I feel like it's slightly disrespectful.
Okay. And disrespectful to whom?
To the person who you're laughing at. But they're being
Oh.
disrespectful by saying it too.
Well, that's it. Yes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be in a mean way. It can be in a good humored way. So
Yeah.
they say, oh, so whatever they say, your house is a mess. And your grandmother goes, oh, no, but it's okay. Life is for enjoying ourselves. Hey, would you like a cup of tea? And the person goes, oh, you know what? You're right. Yes, please. That would be lovely. Or something like that. So that person is fine with it. In fact, it helps them, give them some insight or some value as well. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's good.
Good job, sweetheart. Okay, so practice those stepping stones. And then, of course, the final memory is that the house is easy to maintain.
Yeah.
And the reputation is intact. And so your grandmother is able to just do whatever, like a normal routine. And then she spends lots of time relaxing, doing things that she enjoys. She plays with you. You all go out. So make sure that the majority of her day is spent feeling good, and maintaining the house is effortless. So there is no struggle. There is no constantly having to do something.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Can I put like a housemaid in there?
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
That. And then now I want to do something. So we've done that, and you're going to practice those, of course. But right now, I want you to imagine that a scene with the little you and your grandmother, just the two of you in the house. And what is your grandmother teaching you now?
So she's a really good knitter. Like she knits stuff for everyone. So she's teaching me how to knit. And I really enjoyed that time with her, like learning how to do it.
Lovely. Good job. So can you take a moment now to really put yourself in that scene and feel the feeling of how relaxed it is, how patient she is, and how much she's enjoying sharing the knitting with you and teaching you, and how much you are enjoying it, and really amp up that feeling, those good feelings of connection, peace, calm, safe.
Yeah, that's so good. Because there was a layer of she had sisters who like got married in really rich houses, and then they were used to relax all day, and it was like a bad thing. So now she can have it. Yeah.
Very good. So you've got a reference there for it, and then you're going to now give it to your grandmother. That's your gift to her. Good job. Okay, so now in that scene, so you've amped up the feelings, so you know what that feels like. I want you to pick one word or phrase that can represent this. And it could be like knitting, or it could be something else, anything you like. You got something?
It's okay.
Good job, sweetheart. Good. It's okay is the phrase. And now I want you to pick one visual. So it can be the knitting itself. It can be your grandmother's face. It can be anything you like in that scene that can represent that scene for you.
Okay, yeah.
You got something. Okay, very good. So now I want you to spend the rest of today referencing that. So just touch it, like using it like a touchstone. Just thinking of the visual and that it's okay, and that feel of being with your grandmother and that peace and all of that you've just created. Do that over and over and over to keep yourself topped up with those feel-good chemicals. And then moving forward, every time you think of the exam, every time you think of, the possibility of resitting the exam, whatever it is, immediately play that moment. Okay. So play that phrase, it's okay, and the visual with the feelings, so that your brain starts to link the exam and everything to do with that with this evidence in your childhood, this new evidence in your childhood that you're safe.
Okay.
And that's okay to not struggle.
Right. Okay.
How does that sound?
That sounds great. So I have a question on this. So I did this in 2020 when I was expecting results, and I was like using the superpower and everything. And I know what it's like to let go of an outcome. Like I know that innate feeling, right? I haven't been able to achieve it yet with this, but I know I'm like hoping. So inside of me somewhere is like desperately hoping it will change the situation, but that's not really how the unconditional love works. That's what I want to get to, but I'm struggling to get to there. Is it just because I'm linking like the exam outcome with something negative? Because every time I think about it, it stresses me out. Yeah.
Okay. So it could be, those references in your childhood that, because if you drop your guard, and what I mean by that is if you think it's okay, so let's say you do make peace with it and you go, you know what, even if I fail, even if I have to resit that exam, even if I fail it, whatever happens, everything's okay. I'm going to be okay. So I can love it all anyway. So you're using that unconditional love. Your brain, the unconscious part of your brain, is seeing that as you're sitting there and there's a lion and you're going, even if the lion attacks me, it's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Be fine. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what's going on. That's so as you think of, oh, everything will be okay, your brain is pumping stress chemicals into your system going, no, you're going to die. So 2 things. Number 1, reminding yourself really is okay. There's nothing, I'm not going to die. Nothing dangerous is going to happen. So reassuring yourself on a logical level. And then the second part is laying a new childhood memory that proves it for the unconscious part of your brain. Because you reminding yourself that you're not really in physical danger, that's just for your conscious mind. That's not going to get through to the unconscious part of your brain because it can't understand that logic.
Yeah.
So what that piece is, that first piece of answering yourself, is using logic to answer the conscious mind so that the conscious mind is not joining in with the so in other words, you're not being dragged around by the dog, or you're not joining in with the child who's frightened of the dark. That first piece of answering it, going, it really is okay. There's nothing dangerous. This is just chemicals. And it's just because the unconscious part of my brain thinks there's a lion. Okay, that's what that piece is for. And then, of course, the new childhood memories are for the unconscious part of your brain. Prove that there is no lion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes more sense. Yes.
Good. Very good. So how do you feel now when you think about the exam and everything to do with that?
Yeah, I feel better. Like I always have control, like I know that. But then, like you just said, I'm saying it's okay, but I'm not unconscious and not really believing it. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And remembering that, realizing that means acknowledging to not expect the unconscious part of your brain to believe it. And knowing that because the unconscious part of your brain is still behaving as if there's a lion, it doesn't mean there is a lion.
Yeah.
It just means the unconscious part of your brain is incapable of understanding of logic.
Okay.
So it's like dog, for example, Steve's daughter has a dog that's terrified of firework or any bang. Can't explain to them. I mean, you can explain to the dog, but it won't understand, right?
Yeah.
It's just going to jump and shake every time there's a bang, regardless of whether it's real danger or not.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah, that's empowering to know. Yeah, it's like the reiteration, like I needed the reiteration.
Very good. And rewatch this video as well. Rewatch this recording to keep reminding yourself when you need it.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Swasti. Thank you for the question and enjoy that time, that you have now before you go home. All right, sweetheart. Lots of love to you. You're very welcome.
Hi, Odille.
Hello.
Hi, I'm super new and I was just so inspired by what happened with Swasti and so glad that she's getting this at her young age. I think about, gosh, if I had this when I was her age, so I'm excited for her. But that, but that was wonderful. And like I said, I'm super new, but I'm really inspired by that. I do have a question, might have not heard it, but how do you get the subconscious, or I think you call it subconscious, to really take that information in or believe it? That's where I'm a little bit stuck.
Yes, very good question, Jill. Thank you for asking that. So the way to convince the unconscious part of your brain or the subconscious that there is no danger is to give it proof in the form of childhood memories. The unconscious part of the brain or the subconscious is constantly checking your implicit childhood memories to determine whether something's dangerous or not. It's not based on reality and it's not based on logic. It's just based on what's here in my childhood. So when we change those childhood memories to the opposite, positive, empowering, then it's referring to, oh, no, I am safe. Does that make sense?
It does. And so how do you get that childhood memory to tweak to what we want it to be?
Very good. So we use the back and forth with the little brain chemistry exercise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the links to the brain chemistry exercise and the step-by-step for changing a negative childhood memory. I'll put the links in the description of this video, but if you'd like to do one now, I can take you through it in person if you like. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
All right. So do you have a particular memory that you'd like to change?
Sure. I have a lot of them. Yeah. Okay. Let's do one. When I was 18, though, actually I was 19. 19. Is that too late?
That's okay. That's okay. So what we tend to do is try and go for the earlier ones first, if possible, because those are the roots of the weed, and then the others change automatically. But sometimes you can't remember earlier ones. Then we just go with whatever.
I could remember an earlier one, but it's pretty intense. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. So we don't want to do anything too intense right now, just for the time scale. But let's do the 18-year-old one.
Okay.
So you were 18 years old, and can you give me, I can do this no content, can you give me a name for the memory? So it could be, shoes or
airport.
Field. Very good. All right. Let me ask you, what's your favorite color, Jill?
Green.
Green. Very good. And do you have a subject? So in other words, a person, animal, place, or activity that you love with no negative connotation. So no missing or longing or anything like that, but something that you just love.
Sure, my little dog, Faye.
Faye, lovely. Very good. All right. Think about the airport memory now. So airport, 18 years old, and let me know how strong the negative emotions are. So 0 to 10, how strong are those negative emotions?
I'd say 7.
Very good. Now I want you to press pause on that memory, and I want you to take a deep breath and imagine being surrounded by green, the most beautiful shade of green you've ever seen. And you can close your eyes if you want to, or you don't have to. Can you do that?
Okay.
Very good. And what kind of green is it? Is it light green or a dark green?
It's kind of a light green.
Light green. Very good. Very good. And I want you to see if you can feel the feeling of being surrounded by that beautiful light green.
Yes.
You got that. Good job. And now I want you to think of Faye.
Okay.
And I want you to imagine holding her in your, it's a her, right?
She, yeah.
Faye? Yeah, she. So it would be interesting if it was a boy, but still. All right. So I want you to imagine holding Faye in your arms in a hug.
Okay.
Good. And can you feel the feeling of love and connection between you? Good job. Now I want you to imagine that feeling of love and connection, wherever you feel it in you, in your chest or your solar plexus, as a ball of light or energy.
Okay.
And imagine that light or energy spreading all the way through your body, down to your toes, up to the top of your head, and out to your fingertips. So you're full of that light, that energy, that love. You got that?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Good job. So now press pause on that, back to the airport memory. So 18 years old at the airport, and the negative emotions were around a 7. Where are they now? Is it more? Is it less? Is it the same?
I forgot to pause that. Good one.
That's all right. That's fine. That's absolutely fine, because the
Okay.
aim is to bring those negative emotions down. So it's absolutely fine.
It's kind of hard to get in that space of the airport because I'm, in the nice. So,
That's right. That's the idea.
yeah.
So as you go to that airport memory now, what we want to do is we don't want to amp up those stress chemicals again, the negative feelings. We just want to notice what is there now. So what we're doing as we're doing this, as you thought of the airport memory in the first instance, your brain started producing these stress chemicals that create the negative emotions. And, the level of stress chemicals was at about a 7 for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you imagine pressing pause on that and you started thinking of the color and hugging Faye and all of that and the light, those connections between neurons in your brain started producing feel-good chemicals. So your brain switched off the stress chemicals tap and switched on the feel-good chemicals tap. So then when you press pause on that and you go back to the negative memory, now your system has feel-good chemicals in it.
Yeah.
So it's not as easy to feel those stress chemicals.
Okay.
And this will vary from person to person and from memory to memory. So sometimes the stress chemicals will be stronger. And so then it'll take a bit more back and forth before you are able to think of that negative memory without the negative feelings. So I'm saying this for everybody else as well. Remember that all you want to do when you think of that negative memory, just 1 or 2 seconds. So it's like dipping your toe in a bath to see if it's hot. You don't want to get in.
Sure.
So this is the same. You just want to check up, and perhaps it's a 4 or a 3 or whatever it is, or an 8, and you keep doing that until when you think of the negative memory, there's no negative emotions.
So you're saying one day that would happen, I could think of that intensely. And
well, so what we're going to do, we don't leave it there. So now that you've got the feel-good chemicals in your system, we want to check if there's any negative emotions at all in the airport memory.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything there left?
A little bit.
A little bit? Very
Yeah.
good. So let's go back to the green.
Okay.
And hugging Faye. And if Faye's ever done anything funny, think of that.
Okay.
There you go. Very good. So we're producing feel-good chemicals again.
Uh-huh.
And then we press pause on that. And now we think of the airport memory again. and any negative emotions left. So we want to keep doing this until when you think of the airport memory, there's no negative emotions.
Yeah, there's still a wee bit. Yeah.
Little bit. Come back to Faye and the green and how much you love Faye, everything you love about her, how cute she is, and the connection between you, how grateful you are for her. You got all that? Feeling good?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Press pause on that. Let's go to the airport again. Any negative emotions left?
Less and less, still, a
little bit. Okay. And so what we want to do is now we want to change whatever happened, okay, to the opposite, positive and empowering. And the way we change it is literally by imagining it differently. So the way this works is because the unconscious part of the brain can't tell the difference between reality and imagination. And it also doesn't have a concept of linear time. So as we think of things, to the unconscious part of the brain, it's happening in this moment and it doesn't question the logic or the reasoning behind it. So you want to think of the most fabulous thing that could have happened instead. So can you think of something exciting? So you're meeting a celebrity at the airport, or you're going somewhere exciting on holiday and you're with people who are fun.
So I put that alternative right in that memory, that space.
That's right. That's right. So what we're doing is it's like learning a new phone number. So your brain has your phone number, and then you want to change your phone number, practice saying the new phone number, and eventually your brain replaces the old one with the new one. So it's like that. The thing that stops us from doing that is the negative emotions, the stress chemicals. So that's why we bring the stress chemicals down first, then reimagine the memory. And of course, bearing in mind, you'll always know what originally happened. Consciously, you'll always know what originally happened, but we're changing that information for the unconscious part of your brain, which will believe the new memory. All right. And so you want to create the new memory, amp up the feel-good feelings. So it's not enough because stress chemicals are stronger. The sense of survival mechanism is a lot stronger than the feel-good stuff because for survival, to keep us alive. So that's why it's, negative emotions are so much stronger and so difficult to pull yourself out of very often. Because they're keeping you alive. So you want to make it needs to be amazing, not just okay. Celebrity or a fun, whatever that 18-year-old you would have loved to have happened right then.
Okay, I got an idea.
Got something?
Yeah.
Good. Very good. And just for everybody listening in on this, there is no limit to the special effects and the budget in your mind. So you can literally do anything. You can use magic, you can use, fictional characters. So there's no limit because the unconscious part of the brain won't question it. Now that you've created that, you want to practice that over and over with feel-good feelings until it's established, which means until when you think of it, you can remember it easily. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Very good. So that's the process we use for changing memories. Finding the memories, again, I'll put the links to those videos for finding the memories and for changing the memories. I'm also going to put a link to a video that takes you through changing traumatic memories on your own safely. So obviously with trauma, it's more difficult because there's a lot more stress chemicals involved, but there's a process for doing that. And I'll put that link to that in the description of this video as well.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. And you're very welcome, Jill. Any other questions for now?
No, it's just very generous of you to do this. So appreciate it.
Of course. No problem at all. You're very, very welcome, Jill. Thank you. Pamela, hello.
Just one question with the exercise with Jill. If I did something like that, can you take like a good memory, whoever the problematic person is in your life, and use that in it? Even though it's part of that person, because I know of a very good one of my mother that was very funny and I was very proud of it. And it was in an airport too. So anyway, that's what had me remember that. So I'd like your thoughts on that. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Thank you for the question. So you can do that. Absolutely. The tricky bit can be that depending on how strong negative emotions are in the old memory, your brain can connect that and taint
That's interesting.
the good memory. So you just want to keep an eye on that. You've got to make sure that feel-good chemicals in the good memory are really strong, and you're literally just dipping, well, not literally, but just effectively just dipping your toe into the negative memory so that you're not bringing the negative across. Very good. Thank you, Pamela, for the question. All right, everybody. So thank you so much to all those who asked questions. It helps so many others as well. So I really appreciate it. And I will see you same time, same place next time. Lots of love to all of you. Bye-bye.